In the middle of a treacherous sea, a peaceful cruise ship is caught in a massive whirlpool. As the crew salvages a mysterious barrel from the waves, iron-fisted Alvida and her pirates launch a surprise attack. While they raid the ship, a mysterious orange-haired girl slips aboard unnoticed. Meanwhile, that barrel rolls into the lower decks, where a timid chore boy named Kobe discovers it. Kobe is cornered by 3 bullies who think the barrel is full of grog. But as they prepare to break it open, a young man bursts out with a bang, accidentally knocking one of them out cold. Meet Monkey D. Luffy. He isn't interested in a fight, he's just hungry. While searching for food, Kobe reveals he's been held captive as a cowardly chore boy for 2 years. Luffy's reaction? Total honesty. He calls Kobe a coward to his face, but then Luffy drops a bombshell. He's going to find the One Piece and become the king of the pirates. Kobe panics, but Luffy's resolve is ironclad. I've decided to be the king of the pirates. If I die fighting for that, that's fine with me. Suddenly, Alvida smashes through the ceiling. She's hunting for Roronoa Zoro, but finds a pipsqueak instead. Luffy immediately calls her the ugliest, fattest hag he's ever seen. Alvida's crew charges, but Luffy reveals his secret weapon, the Gum Gum Fruit. His body is made of rubber. After shrugging off a hit from Alvida's Iron Club, Luffy winds up a Gum Gum pistol and blasts her into the stratosphere. With the pirates defeated, Luffy and Kobe make their escape, briefly crossing paths with the orange-haired girl from earlier. As they sail away, Luffy hears about the legendary swordsman Roronoa Zoro. His next move? Finding Zoro and making him the first member of his crew. The duo finally arrive in Shellstown, only to find the entire population paralyzed by fear. The mere mention of the pirate hunter Zoro makes people panic, but weirdly enough, mentioning the town's marine leader, Captain Morgan, terrifies them just as much. Luffy immediately ditches Kobe and runs off to find the pirate hunter. He tracks him down to the marine training yard, where Zoro is tied to a wooden crucifix. Kobe begs Luffy to leave him alone, but Luffy has already decided this guy is joining his crew. Before they can do anything, a little girl named Rika sneaks into the yard. She's brought Zoro a couple of homemade rice balls because he's been starving out there for 3 weeks. Zoro tells her to leave before she gets caught, but it's too late. Helmeppo, the spoiled blonde son of Captain Morgan, walks in with his guards. Helmeppo throws the rice balls in the dirt, stomps them into mush, and orders his guards to toss Rika over the fence. Luffy catches her just in time. Once Helmeppo struts away, Luffy approaches Zoro, who stubbornly rejects the offer to become a pirate. He claims he'll be released in a week anyway. But right before Luffy leaves, Zoro asks him to feed him the dirty, stomped-on rice balls from the ground. Turns out, the terrifying pirate hunter has a massive heart. Back in town, Rika fills Luffy and Kobe in on the real story. Zoro isn't a criminal. 3 weeks ago, he saved Rika from Helmeppo's wild pet dog. To protect Rika and her mom from being executed for it, Zoro cut a deal with Helmeppo to be tied up for a month instead. But Helmeppo is a liar. Overhearing him bragging inside a nearby tavern that he plans to execute Zoro anyway, Luffy loses his mind. He bursts in, punches Helmeppo right in the face, and declares he's saving Zoro. Luffy returns to Zoro with a simple proposal. He helps recover the stolen swords, and in exchange, Zoro joins his crew. The pirate hunter objects, but Luffy isn't asking. He's already deciding for him. Luffy heads out to find Zoro's confiscated swords. Using his rubber powers, he launches himself toward the base roof, entirely overshoots his jump, and ends up grabbing a massive statue of Captain Morgan to swing inside, accidentally shattering it to pieces. While a furious Captain Morgan beats up his own son for losing the statue, a mysterious orange-haired girl uses the absolute chaos to sneak into the base's treasury. Down in the courtyard, Kobe is desperately trying to untie Zoro and warns him about the execution plot, but they're cornered. Captain Morgan and a firing squad line up, aiming their rifles right at them. Just as Morgan yells fire, Luffy uses his Gum Gum rocket, crashing down right between the guns and his friends. The Marines shoot, but the bullets bounce right off Luffy's rubber body, sending them flying back and leaving everyone, especially Zoro, completely speechless. Zoro asks who Luffy really is.
俺はモンキー D ルフィ、海賊王になる男だ。
And Luffy casually drops his massive ambition to become the king of the pirates. Zoro asks again if he actually understands the sheer amount of danger he'd be facing with a dream that big. But with a beaming smile, Luffy tells him that's exactly why he wants Zoro on his team. Curious, Luffy asks why he even uses 3 swords in the first place. Zoro explains that he's mastered the 3-sword style, also known as Santoryu. Meanwhile, Captain Morgan is still standing right in front of them, getting absolutely furious because they are completely ignoring his existence. Losing his mind, he orders his marines to attack Luffy, Zoro, and Kobe, while they're still trying to free the pirate hunter. Seeing the squad closing in, Zoro tells Luffy to give him his swords. Just as the marines are about to strike Kobe, a newly freed Zoro intercepts them, blocking the entire group's attack at once. Right there,
海軍と一戦やるからには俺も晴れて悪党ってわけだ。だから
Zoro finally agrees to join the crew in exchange for Luffy saving his life. But he makes one thing crystal clear. His dream is to become the world's greatest swordsman, and nothing will stand in his way, including Luffy. Luffy just laughs. It only makes sense for the king of the pirates to have the world's greatest swordsman by his side. Furious, Captain Morgan orders his men to attack. Luffy tells Zoro to duck and unleashes his Gum Gum Whip, sweeping the marines away. He then charges straight at Morgan, but the captain manages to deflect the attack with his axe hand. Morgan tries to counter, but Luffy dodges it and starts pummeling him into the ground. Mid-beatdown, Helmeppo holds Kobe at gunpoint, demanding their surrender. Terrified but brave, Kobe screams at them not to give up, shouting that he isn't afraid to die. Hearing this, Luffy smiles proudly and knocks Helmeppo out with a Gum Gum pistol. But Luffy doesn't realize Morgan has stood back up right behind him. Luckily, Zoro jumps in and completely shuts the captain down, striking him with all 3 swords. Zoro asks the remaining marines if anyone else wants a piece of them, but instead of fighting, the marines throw their weapons in the air, cheering that they are finally free from Morgan's tyranny. Right after the victory, Zoro suddenly collapses. Turns out, he's just starving after being tied up for 3 weeks. Meanwhile, the orange-haired thief breaks into Morgan's room, only to find the map she wanted was already stolen by Buggy the Clown. Later at Rika's tavern, the crew celebrates over a meal. Zoro asks where the rest of the crew is, and Luffy, mouthful of food, casually replies that Zoro is the only one. Seeing Zoro's utter shock, Luffy tries to calm him down, explaining he wants at least 10 people and that they'd find the One Piece together. Zoro then asks where their ship is, expecting a massive vessel for a crew that size. He is hit with instant regret when Luffy reveals his ship is literally just a tiny dinghy. Their conversation is interrupted by a marine named Ripper, who enters to thank them for liberating the town. However, since they're pirates, he politely asks them to leave. As they walk out, Ripper asks Kobe why he isn't leaving with them. Kobe freezes, but before he can blow his chance at joining the Marines, Luffy speaks up, loudly calling Kobe a cowardly loser chore boy. Furious, Kobe punches Luffy, and Luffy immediately starts beating him up until Zoro drags him away. The act works. Ripper is convinced Kobe isn't with the pirates. After Luffy and Zoro leave, Kobe realizes Luffy did it on purpose to protect his dream. He asks Ripper to enlist him, and the commander happily agrees. At the harbor, as Luffy and Zoro set sail, Kobe comes to see them off, giving them a sharp salute that Ripper and the rest of the Marines actually join in on. Out at sea, Zoro asks Luffy why he wants to be the king of the pirates. Luffy just smiles and gives a simple answer. Just like Zoro, he has a promise to keep to someone special.
よーし行く